Hi everyone, I am Giuseppe Fratoni and welcome to today's episode of the GPF Chat, my Google Hangouts and podcast show, and I'm very glad to have you here today. I'm extremely excited to be joined today by my friend Ben Gioia for a conversation about his #1 best-selling book, Marketing with a Heart. Ben, welcome to the show and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Giuseppe. It's my pleasure to be here. I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you. Ben is a speaker, an author, a coach, and the founder of marketingwithaheart.com, as well as the Marketing and Communication Board Chairman for Conscious Capitalism Bay Area chapter. His book, Marketing with a Heart, offers a new philosophy, strategy, and bottom line for business for greater income, influence, and impact. Okay, Ben, I'd like to start with your background. Tell us a bit more about you, your personal and professional background, and how did you get where you are today?
Yeah, thank you. That's always such a funny question because there's so much to write all of our histories as we, as we take this walk through business and through our lives and, through being entrepreneurs. Let's see. I guess I'll start with business first. I can do business and personal both, actually. I grew up in New York, in and around New York City, and after college, I actually got into the magazine production world. So a couple of famous titles here in the U.S., Modern Bride, Colonial Homes, Condé Nast Traveler, and a magazine for a big nonprofit organization here called AARP. And then I started traveling overseas and spent some time in South Africa first, and came back to the States, and I really realized that whatever kind of work I was going to do in the future, it absolutely had to be in service to people, no matter what it was, when it was, where it was. So I moved to California, started working in the nonprofit world, and loved the work, but then started really having a kind of internal challenge around it, because what I was noticing was that there were businesses who were doing really, really well financially, but in doing well financially, they were not treating people well. They were not doing well for the environment. Basically, they were just making trouble and pain and problems while they were making money. And then on the other hand, I'm looking at nonprofits and delighted to be part of an organization, for example, that is helping people, but that really struggles to make enough money to do it, and is relying on donors and events, just barely scraping by, and really not being able to pay enough to their people, and not being able to have the level of impact that they want to have. And in and around all of that, in my personal life, I was just not happy with too much of anything, as is often expressed on the outside. So I left and traveled and found myself in India, and India was the place where I really connected to my spiritual path, which is a lot around meditation, and then came back to the States, having a much clearer vision of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it in the world. And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch more kind of that I can go from there, but that was kind of where the seed of Marketing with a Heart came from.
Okay, fantastic. Now, let's dive into today's topic. I'd like to start with a quote from your book. You say that marketing, selling, and persuasion are service. And I totally agree with you, but let's face it, the words marketing, selling, and persuasion are often associated with manipulation, with pressure, and sleazy salesmen. Can you explain the point?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Yeah, so it's so funny how all of us, I mean, you in Italy, myself in the United States, and we both have that perception of the sleazy salesman, right? For us, it's used cars. That's the big association, and a guy in like a really cheap suit, plaid suit. Yeah, there's so many years of that perception for real reasons, significant reasons, because a lot of businesses didn't do well by people, and a lot of people didn't do their marketing, with any kind of ethics and integrity, because they were doing it based on fear and manipulation and false hope and hard selling and all these kinds of things. And what I'm saying with marketing and selling being service, and even persuasion being service, is that if you have something that will change people's lives, it is your right and duty to get it out there to help as many people as possible. And a key to doing that is marketing, right? Like getting that message to as many people as possible. But it's not just getting the message out there, it's using your marketing as a way to actually deliver value as you're spreading your message. So if nobody ever even buys your stuff, that they will still be getting benefit first and foremost from the marketing message. And then ideally you've connected with them by developing a relationship, cultivating trust, positioning yourself as an expert or an authority, which is all the kind of important marketing stuff to do. You get them into a conversation, whether it's one-on-one or on a webinar or at a seminar, at a speech, and then you give them the opportunity to have their lives impacted by your products and services. And if you know that you can make people's lives better or their businesses better, then absolutely the marketing and the selling are the tools to make people's lives better, more improved, more productive, happier, healthier, whatever that word is for what you do and how you deliver it.
Great. So what exactly is marketing with a heart?
So many answers to that. Well, marketing with a heart is my business. It is my book. It is the core of my life, really. I think you can appreciate this as you are at the front end of your entrepreneurial journey, and a lot of people listening to this podcast or watching this hangout would have the same experience or the same perception that what we do for our business, it's not like here's our work and here's our life. It's here's our work and here's our life like this. And not because we're workaholics per se, but because we care deeply about what we do, and what we're doing is an expression of who and what we are. So marketing with a heart for me is very much who and what I am. It's how I can take my gifts and my talents, my ability to speak and inspire people, my ability to write persuasively, and bring that to people in a way that can help them in their businesses and their lives and help other people in the process. So that would be marketing with a heart kind of for me and what it means close. And then more on the outside, you can also think of it as a system and a strategy and a philosophy of business, and I'll take them kind of in reverse order. So the philosophy of business part is, when you really, really come down to it, everything that we do in our lives, in business or at home, affects other people, right? It's just like there's no way of getting around the fact that the choices we make, the words that we speak, even the thoughts that we think, have an impact on everyone around us. So any choices that you want to make in business, really have to be lined up with that mode of thinking, right? So whatever I'm doing is affecting myself, it's affecting the people I love, it's affecting my customers and other people who are interacting with my business. And I also have to remember that it's also affecting, my great-grandchildren's grandchildren, great-grandchildren, right? Like many, many generations down the line. So that's the philosophy part, right? Just that using business as a force for good and always running decisions and choices through that filter of how is this going to impact, everyone and everything, now and in the future. And then the strategy part, what I teach for in and around marketing and marketing with a heart really brings marketing down to empathy, like a very close connection between marketing and empathy. So empathy being that ability to see the world through someone else's eyes, or to stand in their shoes and really get their experience on a visceral level, on an emotional level, all of that kind of stuff. If you can bring empathy into how you communicate with people, whether it's your audience, your customers, your clients, your vendors, other people in your company, your employees, if you can take a little time, connect with them deeply, listen to what they're saying, and really get what they're saying to you from their perspective and from who they are. Like literally step out of yourself for a couple of minutes and just get in there with their experience, then you can communicate beautifully, effectively, persuasively, and in a way that really cultivates those key things around marketing and sales, the influence factors, like I was talking a little bit about before, of knowing and liking and trusting and, having people view you as an authority. And the last best part of this is that when you dig in deeply and really listen to people, you can create the products and services that they want and need because they've told you exactly what they want and need, right? And you are benefiting just by listening and turning back around and saying, hey, you told me you want this, here you go. And you'll have customers and clients for life by doing that. And then the very last part, marketing with a heart, is a framework. Most people, we touched on this a little bit already in the Hangout in the podcast today, but most businesses focus only on profit at the expense of everything else. And what I talk about in Marketing with a Heart is a framework that focuses or puts equal attention and importance on people, purpose, and profit. Right? So people is a pretty obvious one. I've already been talking about that. The importance of that we're affecting everybody and everything with our choices. Purpose is how deeply are we connected to the vision of our life and of our business, and are we clear on what we want and how we want to live, and then are we connecting the dots from what we're doing every day in our businesses, in our lives, to that bigger vision of ourselves and of the future that we can help create. And then profit, absolutely profit. We're in business, and businesses need profit to survive. And what I say is the more money you make in your business, the more that you can live exactly how you want to live, help the people you want to help, and help more people than you can possibly even imagine.
And how did you develop this approach to marketing and business?
That's a really good question. It came from a few things. It came from years of doing marketing and studying marketing from different coaches, whether it was live trainings or coaches that I had worked with directly, being parts of mastermind groups, and reading and watching a lot of webinars and all that kind of stuff. So it was really understanding the tool of marketing as it were, but then me adding or modifying it in such a way that I could make the tool into something that I felt good about. Because there are aspects of marketing, or let me rephrase that. It's not marketing itself, right? It's how people use it. Just like most things in the world, you can use them for good or use them for bad. And a lot of people, unfortunately, have been using marketing and sales tactics for bad, just for self-gain. So what I said was, okay, if it's important for me that what I'm doing in business aligns with who I am and how I want to be in the world and how I want to help people, and I know that marketing is important, and I know that I have a talent for marketing, yes, I should be maximizing my talent so I can help myself and help other people, but I need to do it in a way that feels really, really good to me as well. So I started overlaying this notion of empathy and compassion, and looking at what's the good for all people, and how can I use my business as a force for good in all of these different dimensions. And a lot of that came from my spiritual practice. It came from, fortunately, growing up with good parents who loved me dearly and good friends who loved me dearly, and then also spending a lot of time in meditation. And when you spend time being quiet, whatever how you describe your religion or not religion, or your spiritual orientation, or whatever the case may be, it's that quiet place inside of you, your intuition, you can call it God, you can call it spirit, whatever that is for you, that's where the love is, right? And the more you get in touch with this place, the more that reveals itself in your life to you directly, and the more it makes you realize that, doing things that are contradictory to that love and to that essence of who you are, it just doesn't feel good, first of all, and it doesn't do good for anybody in the world.
Awesome, Ben. Listen, most businesses focus on profit because businesses obviously cannot survive without profit. But you talk about people, purpose, and profit as a new way to do business. Why do you focus on all three?
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate the question, because I did allude to it a little bit in the last question, but more needs to be said about this because this is so vitally important. When businesses focus on just profit, they're apparently short-sighted, right? It's like holding something in your fist really tight and not allowing other things to happen, other things to move, things to get in, things to get out, right? There's this, it's almost like this stagnation of energy, and it's like a farmer, just working a piece of land over and over and over again until it's dead and then moving away from it. Where the real way to work that piece of land is to grow a certain crop this year and then grow a different crop next year that's going to replenish that soil, and a different crop that third year, right, that builds it up again, and then come back to that first crop, right? So I want to bring that analogy forward here because I think that really speaks to this idea of people, purpose, and profit, right? That all of these things are so deeply interrelated, and the beautiful thing that has happened over the last, 10, 15 years is that this idea of doing, ethical business, if you will, conscious business, marketing with a heart, it's not just this idea of, this is a better way to do things, because we're a bunch of people who love people who want to hang out and be nice to each other. It's no, there's actually, it makes for better business, right? If you look at companies that are super successful that are on, the Fortune 100 list, for example, a lot of companies that you recognize, Google, Tom's Shoes, Panera Bread, Zappos, a lot of these companies are bringing these aspects of people, purpose, profit, or consciousness practices, or ethics into their businesses. And granted, some are doing them more than others, of course, but the ones that are bringing more and more of these kind of practices into their businesses, how they're treating their employees, how they're interacting with the public, how they're being careful about the environment, they're making more money. They're attracting greater talent, better employees. They're keeping them longer. There's data that talks about, there's the Dow Jones Index, which is a financial index here in the United States. And then there's a Dow Jones Sustainability Index, which looks at companies that have these more holistic kind of practices integrated. And over 5 years, I forget the period of time, the sustainability, try to say that again, the Sustainability Index, thank you, performed something like 36% better, right? So the data is everywhere and proven again that when you focus on people, purpose, and profit, or however you want to call it, bring consciousness into business, you're going to do better, for that single bottom line of profit.
You say that marketing with the heart is a principle-based approach to business. In the book, you say that principles are different than values. Can you talk a bit more about this and why it's important?
Yeah, thank you. So there's a quote from Stephen Covey, who wrote the seven habits of highly successful or effective people. I forget the title of the book, but he said the quote is something like,
yeah. Sorry.
um, he said that there are three constants in life: change, choice, and principles. And the first time I read that and I read his description, it really, really made sense to me. And then this is why it's so important for Marketing with a Heart, is that when people talk about values, a lot of people talk about, oh, this is what my values are about. I have these kind of values in relation to, business or life or marriage or, whatever the case may be. But values are things that change, in time, in circumstance, in cultures, all sorts of stuff. So a really good example of this is at some point, according to the value system in the United States, a woman's place was in the home. Like that was part of the value. That was part of the value system in here. And thank God, like I'm not saying we're away from that thinking yet, but we're much further away from that. But that is a value that has changed over time because of circumstance, because of influence from different kinds of people. Now, principles, on the other hand, you think of principles like gravity, right? Like gravity is not going to change unless you're, suddenly in outer space. But like if you're standing on this Earth, you go anywhere, gravity is going to be that constant, that same thing. So the way it ties back into Marketing with the Heart and a principles-based approach for business, which I recommend to every business owner or every business owner to be, is somewhere in and around your vision statement. You take a good look at your vision statement and what principles does your vision statement express? Like for me, my vision statement or my vision of my business expresses things like respect and truth and integrity and love and caring and compassion, right? These are things that you go to, you kind of take it anywhere in the world, and these are things that will be important to people in any culture. Yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to argue that and say not all cultures, but but pretty much anywhere where there's cooperation and where a group of people are working together to make something better. Whether it's a business, whether it's a community. So for me, when I think of my principles as related to my business, I say, okay, here are my principles. So when I make a decision about my business, day to day, small decision, big decision about a next step, I say, okay, does this decision actually align with these principles over here? If it does, great. Then I will explore the possibility further and see if it is really the right thing. And if it doesn't align with my principles, then right off the bat, I can say, you know what, that doesn't match up. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm about. It's not what I want my business to express. And I won't even go there.
I'm curious about people's reaction to your ideas. How does your approach resonate with business owners? Is it difficult to convince them to embrace your system?
So that's a great question, and I'm going to answer it a couple different ways. So the first part of it is that there are an abundance, more than enough business owners out there, whether it's small businesses, organizations, entrepreneurs, who are absolutely hungry for this kind of approach to business because they want to feel good about themselves and they want to go home at the end of the day and feel satisfaction not just from the quality of work that they've produced and what they've done during the day, but they also don't want to go home with that baggage of, oh, I wasn't quite truthful, or I did something that was a little manipulative, or whatever the case may be. So there's this beautiful ability or benefit to Marketing with a Heart of you're going to feel good, period, about doing it, and that attracts a lot of people. There are other people who are attracted to it because of what I described before about when you're focusing on people, purpose, and profit, keeping or bringing consciousness practices into your business, then you're going to do better as a business, period. You're going to attract more people. There's some amazing statistic that businesses that focus on, this came out of a book called Conscious Capitalism by John Mackey. I think that's how you say his name. He's the CEO of Whole Foods, which is a pretty amazing grocery food store here in the States that does all organic stuff and a lot of ethical business practices and takes care of their employees, etc. And some of the studies that he looked at showed that businesses that do conscious marketing spend something like only 10 to 25% on their marketing and advertising. So like 25% or less than what the rest of the industry will pay, like the non-conscious businesses. Because when you're doing conscious business and conscious marketing, you connect with audiences who are so excited for who you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, that they become your evangelists and your tribe, and they're the ones who start telling the world about your stuff, right? So you are getting this amazing amount of free marketing. So going back to your question, some people, yes, because it feels good. Some people for the business case. And then there's a last group of people, and I forget how you phrased the question exactly, but it's, trying to get people, into this idea of marketing with a heart. I don't do that. I'm not trying to get anybody into anything. What I'm trying to do is educate people about possibility and connect the dots between what they need and what I can offer and how marketing with a heart can do it. And then I leave basically that choice up to them. I can't force anything on anyone. And if I have to force something on someone, then I don't want to do that, and I don't want that person to be my customer because that's not going to be a right fit.
Okay, I would like to talk a bit about the implementation of your system, of your approach. What are the key steps?
Yeah, so few different. I mean, we could talk for days about this one, but really, if you think about you go to the nutshell of it, right? It's get really clear on who you are, who you want to be in your life, what you want for yourself, what you're good at, and how that connects to your business, right? So any great success of any business person, any leader, any of us in the world, like we have to get our inner game sorted, right? Like we have to get good on the inside, get clear on the inside to be able to get clear on the outside and help other people. So I'd say, start there, figure out, who you are, who you want to be, what kind of impact you want to bring to the world, and then how does your business actually express that, or can it express that? And then once you have these ideas in place, then go figure out who your audience is and what they really want and need. Because the biggest mistake that most businesses make, and they often do this over and over, which is amazing, is they create a product or service and they market the hell out of it and nobody buys it, or they have a very little uptake because they didn't actually go and figure out what people really need, right? So going back to that point at the beginning of empathy, right? How do you really, really communicate with your people to understand what they need? And then when you understand what they need, that gives you the language. It not only tells you what you can produce for them, but it gives you the actual language. So when you put that language in your marketing, they're reading or hearing a phrase or some words that have been bouncing around in their heads, and they're like, oh my God, this man or this woman knows exactly what I need. I'm going to call them right now and get their thing, So really getting clear on that language, and then creating a bunch of content and syndicating the hell out of it. Quality content, not quantity of content. And this is very, very important, right? Create something that's good, that's thought-provoking, that is valuable, that you started on your blog or some centralized place that that you own, your real estate on the web, and then take that thing and repurpose it to video and to audio and to Giuseppe, like what you do. You have a hangout and a podcast, right? And you can tweet about it. Get that content out there, because that will help. You put the stakes in the ground, so to speak, around the web on all these different channels, media channels, and it also helps your brand because these are the messages that you're bringing, and they're consistent all over the place. And these are the things that, because you don't know always exactly where your audience is hanging out. So instead of, yelling, hey, come over here, actually go to them and give them a reason to come. So whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through Google+. And then the last part is, just, keep creating stuff that you hear people talking about. And, ideally, what I recommend strongly is especially if you're doing the work I'm doing, or Giuseppe, like you're doing, where we're doing stuff in information business, right? Information marketing, that we don't create stuff ahead of time, like don't create an entire course ahead of time, that we promote the course, we give people enough value so they show us that they're interested, and that we create it live with them, whether it's through Hangouts or webinars or, an event or anything like that, because then we have the ability to, craft and tweak and make updates in real time based on the feedback we're getting from people, which we can't do if we create, a 4-week seminar 2 months ago. Then somebody asks this question of like, what about X, Y, and Z? And you're like, oh my God, I didn't even address that. So not only can you tweak the content, but it might even lead to a whole nother product or service for you.
Or even have to get new ideas that you hadn't thought of before.
Exactly. Yeah. Your clients and customers are often the best place for the next phases of your business.
Yeah. Listen, Ben, does it take longer to make money using this approach?
I don't think it's an approach that makes money take longer. I think it is the core things around marketing that really, are the thing that more indicate how long something takes. Let me say that in English. So you got to know who your audience is. You need to know what they want. And then you need to look at the market and see what's out there and see the kinds of products and services that people are investing in, and make something, whether it's a product or service, that you don't want to copy and do exactly what like this man or this woman over here is doing, but you want to do something that is similar enough that that people are already interested in buying that thing, or investing in that thing, or buying that book, or getting that kind of coaching. If I created a whole course on, I don't know, I mean, like something so obscure because I love it, but there's no market for it, then yeah, it's going to take me a really long time to make some money from that. But if I can go, I'm going to use the analogy of a river, right? If I can go stand in the river where there are a bunch of other people and say, hey, I have something that's kind of like that, but it's, different, better, unique, it's faster, cheaper, or it's more expensive but more comprehensive. You get me with it versus that person, whatever that case may be. So again, it's not the approach. It's that basic business stuff of know your audience, get to them as fast as possible, keep communicating with them, keep making offers to them. Because something I'm going to, Giuseppe, this, a lot of people don't know this, and this is a word of warning to everybody. So much of marketing does not work. So, the marketing gurus are like, I got my system that does the thing, and get the gadget and plug in this, and no, you need to keep putting stuff out there to get people's responses, to then tweak it, to then hit the mark. So there's the story of like a rocket ship being shot to the moon, right? They say that 97% of the time it's off course, right? So they have to keep adjusting it, keep adjusting it, keep adjusting it, so it actually hits the moon. Like marketing is the same thing. And if you can keep that in mind of get it up, get it out fast, you know, it's not as pretty as I want it to be, but it's up there and I'm getting feedback from people, you know, okay, that's the goal. And that's the gold, G-O-L-D, right in there. That's how you make the money.
Yeah, right. And Ben, you are a coach, and in your book you talk about your work with some of your clients. And in fact, for every chapter of your book, there is a case study. What are the most common challenges and frustrations that business owners face today?
Yeah, so a few things. I'm going to sound a little repetitive when I say, you know, not taking the time to really get to know the audience and, you know, what they want and where they are in the world or on the web. I think a lot of it too is impatience. People expect things to happen a lot faster than it often does, than they often do, because we have this plan of like, okay, this is my business and this is what it's going to be about, and I'm going to get it done in 2 years. And then, you know, and then it goes like this because that's what plans do, invariably, especially in this world, right? So, so I think it's that, you know, it's really important that we remember that this is a marathon and not a sprint. You know, you keep plugging away. You know, don't expect things to happen quickly, but make sure that you're, you know, consistently moving toward your goal all the time. And, you know, be careful with your money. You know, make sure you're not setting yourself up for failure because you don't have enough money available. And at the same time, take risks. You know, a lot of people don't take risks, and it's, you know, in great risks where the great rewards come. So it almost, what I've just shared, it almost sounds like a contradiction. Like, you know, make sure you're secure, but also take a risk. Each one of us and everybody listening or watching this really has to figure that out for themselves, right? What level of security do they need where they can take enough of a risk, right? There's Giuseppe, did you ever see that graphic of like there's two circles that aren't touching each other that are right next to each other, and one says your comfort zone inside the circle, and the other circle that's not touching this circle says where the magic happens, right? So it's, you know, you have to get out of your comfort zone for the magic to happen, but it doesn't mean you have to, you know, overhaul your entire life. So maybe you just think of it of how can I get out of my comfort zone 10%? You know, take 10% of a risk, right? And then just keep plugging away and moving forward. Yeah, and then the last part is, you know, in terms of like how quickly a business can come up. Organic traffic doesn't happen as quickly as it used to on the web. You know, it's a longer term strategy. So putting up a bunch of content is great, it's important, but getting traffic from that is going to take a while. So if you have the budget, even a small budget, and I highly recommend this, take a budget and figure out what the best advertising channel for you is, because that's the fastest way to get people, you know, to your website or to your landing page, where you can actually test, you know, if this offer, if this headline, if this freebie, you know, if this $7 product is worth pursuing or not. So yes, if possible, do some advertising, but make sure you're either getting coached effectively about that, or that you're hiring someone who really knows their stuff. Because everybody's like, you know, not everybody, but many people who offer services are like, you know, this thing, I can do it, it's great, and you do it like this, right? Like, find out who they've done it for. Talk to those people, you know, know that it will work for you, and make sure you feel good on the inside before you hand your money to someone to do that for you.
Great, fantastic advice, Ben. Thank you. My last question for you today is, where can people discover more about you and your work?
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so my website is marketingwithaheart.com, and I actually have a little something special for your viewers, Giuseppe, or your listeners, depending when and how people are
Yeah,
consuming this chat.
thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So it's marketingwithaheart.com/GPF. G is in good, P is in Paul, F is in Frank, or Giuseppe P. Frattoni, I think is what it is, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
So yes, so marketingwithaheart.com/GPF. There is go there. You can get a free chapter of my book, which goes into greater depth about a bunch of stuff that I've spoken about today. And on page 1 of the book itself, there's another download that you can get, which is a great way to take one piece of content and slice and dice it in a whole bunch of different ways and get it out on the web, like I was talking about today. It's a framework that walks you through doing that. So yeah, that chapter and that framework are two really, really great pieces of information that I think will really help the listeners and the viewers with their businesses, no matter what stage you're at.
Thank you very much, Ben. And I've added this URL marketingwithaheart.com/GPF in the comment section of the Google event and on
Awesome.
the
Thank you.
event page for people to get there easily.
Cool.
Okay, Ben,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing your ideas with us, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule today. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, Giuseppe. Thank you very much. I appreciate the really good questions. I got to think about some really juicy things and talk about them, so I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Okay, this brings us to the end of today's show, and if you liked the show, please go to this URL, gpfchat.com/subscribe to get notifications about upcoming events. And also, please subscribe to my podcast in iTunes at gpfchat.com/iTunes or in Stitcher Radio at gpfchat.com/Stitcher. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Ben again. And for today, we're signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.